There are a couple of things I want to say before I comment on the cognitive capacity of Joe Biden. The first is I am anti-federal government. I believe that communities should be governed at the local level and that jurisdictions should be drawn within the reach of the most wise and respected elders in any given community, because if you cannot physically put your hands on someone to hold them accountable, your jurisdictional area is too large. I also do not believe in political elections as a true measure of the desires of the public, because they are only given choices that have already been pre-selected. So there is no democracy if you must only choose from two people or three people who have been chosen for you to select from. Finally, it is important for people to understand that the brain and the mind are two different things. So a neurological evaluation is important because the responsibility of the brain neurologically is as a message center, but the mind is separate from the physical body and continues to function separate from the physical body, which is something I think people are still grappling with as a reality. So you could have a good neuro exam or assessment, but have an evaluation that rates you as poorly functioning cognitively, primarily because your neurological system is being tampered with or damaged via environmental factors, which impair your capacity to respond physically to what you are thinking mentally. With that being said, I want to share with you some of the tools that are provided for individuals who do these kinds of assessments for you to look at how a cognitive evaluation is done. And then after reviewing them, you can listen to the interview and ask yourself whether or not you feel that President Biden is cognitively impaired. The more important question, however, is, have you completed the assignment to determine what you would need in order to go home and stay there? And then, is the president the person who has the authority to be able to address any needs that are politically regulated or legislated? Do you understand what the responsibility of the President of the United States is? He is the commander of the military. So in terms of how that would look in a domestic situation, he would be the disciplinarian, the person that ensures any rules that have been put in place by the family or community are upheld by each of the members of the community who have agreed, which needs to be 100% of the people 100% of the time. According to the Alzheimer's Association, the Medicare annual wellness visit was initiated in January 2011 as part of the Affordable Care Act. The yearly Medicare benefit includes the creation of a personalized prevention plan and detection of possible cognitive impairment. The Alzheimer's Association convened a group of practicing expert clinicians to make consensus recommendations for an effective, practical, and easy process for detecting cognitive impairment in the primary care setting in your regular doctor's office. The result was an algorithm that incorporates the patient's history, clinical observations, and concerns expressed by the patient, family, or caregiver. Because the use of a cognitive assessment instrument, according to them, can provide improved detection of dementia in the primary care setting, the group identified several tools to evaluate cognition, all of which can be administered in 5 minutes or less by a physician or other trained staff. Here is a list of those assessments. According to the Hartford Institute for Geriatric Nursing, the mini mental state examination is used because cognitive impairment is no longer considered a normal and inevitable change of aging. Although older adults, according to the Hartford Institute, are at higher risk than the rest of the population, changes in cognitive function often call for prompt and aggressive action. In older patients, cognitive functioning is especially likely to decline during illness or injury. The nurse's assessment of an older adult's cognitive status is instrumental in identifying early changes in physiological status, ability to learn, and evaluating responses to treatment, according to the Hartford Institute. The mini mental state exam, according to the Institute, is effective as a screening tool for cognitive impairment with older, community-dwelling, hospitalized, and institutionalized adults. Assessment of an older adult's cognitive function is best achieved when it is done routinely, systematically, and thoroughly, according to the Institute. Since its creation in 1975, the MMSE has been validated and extensively used in both clinical practice and research. The Mini Cog is another assessment tool recommended for its ease of use. You can use this to compare. Keep in mind this interview was conducted almost immediately after the debate, as many other news outlets were reporting that the interview was occurring while they were offering commentary.
It's facing a big question tonight. Can he save his candidacy? As huge donors back out, the heirs to the Disney family fortune now saying she won't fund the Democratic Party until the president drops out. Publicly, though, Mr. Biden is staying defiant at a campaign rally in just the last couple hours, saying he's not going anywhere. Take a listen.
They're trying to push me out of the race. No! Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race. I'll beat Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020. Oh, by the way, we're going to do it again in 2024.
Those remarks coming even as a coalition of 168 top business leaders sending a letter to the president telling him to drop out, to, in their words, preserve democracy.
Did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault, mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, you know, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. I mean, the way the debate ran, not my fault, nobody else's fault, no one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Well, I just had a bad night. You've had some bad interviews once in a while. I can't remember any, but I'm sure you did.
I've had plenty. I guess the question, the problem is here for a lot of Americans watching is you've said, going back to 2020, watch me, to people who are concerned about your age. And, 50 million Americans watched that debate. It seemed to confirm fears they already had.
Well, look, after that debate, I did 10 major events in a row, including until 2 o'clock in the morning after that debate. I did events in North Carolina. I did events in Georgia. Did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
But
we can do this.
I understand that, and I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No. But I'm still in good shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
I know you spoke.
Keep my schedule.
I know you spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me and said, "You're exhausted." I said, "Look, I have medical doctors travel me everywhere. Every president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. They don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong."
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had, I've been at Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes, the answer is.
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
No, no one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do. Not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but with Netanyahu. I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we're doing with regard to, in Europe, with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's going to stick. I'm taking on Putin. Every day, there's no day I go through, there are not those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you have been doing that, and the American people have been watching, yet there are concerns about your age and your health.
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the good job as I know I can do, that's what this is about. Look, George, think of it this way. You've heard me say this before. I think the United States and the world is at an inflection point where the things that happen in the next several years are going to determine what the next 6, 7 decades look like. And who's going to be able to hold NATO together like me? Who's going to be able to be in a position where I'm able to keep the Pacific Basin in a position where we're at least checkmating China now? Who's going to do that? Who has that reach? Who knows all these? We're going to have, I guess, a good way to judge me is you're going to have now the NATO conference here in the United States next week. Come listen. See what they say.
Mr. President, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
ABC News also offered a one-on-one interview to Donald Trump after the debate. He declined.